What we are going to attempt to do in this video is to sketch the graph and find all the asymptotes. And by all, we're just looking for vertical and horizontal. Truly, there are slant asymptotes, which we're not getting into in this video at all. So what we're going to do is start by putting this f of x function into our graphing calculator. Now you'll notice when I type this, the 3x on the top, because there was no addition or subtraction, I did not need parentheses. But with the two different terms in the denominator, I clearly need parentheses around the denominator. The calculator has some zoom features, and that's where we're going to start for finding a window. So we're going to go with zoom, and we're going to go to option 6, the standard, and it works for most of these problems. So we'll try that, and it works great here. So I see this gorgeous picture of my rational function. Just really cool graph, something we haven't seen before. So sketching my graph. So my graph goes from -10 to +10 in all directions. That is that standard zoom. This is my x direction, this is my y. And I had this curve, and it starts below the x-axis, and then it does a nice swivel in the middle. So we have curve, it comes along here, it dips down, it comes up, goes to the origin, has a mimic, and then goes this way. All right, so we have notes about the asymptotes, and you do not need to memorize those notes, you just need to use them. So for poles or vertical asymptotes, we want the denominator to equal 0. So I will put x squared plus 1 equals 0. That's where we find them. I'm going to solve this by subtracting 1 from both sides. So x squared equals -1. Taking a square root on both sides. So square root. So x is plus or minus the square root of -1, which is I. And so this is not real, which means there are no poles. So there are no poles, which are the vertical asymptotes. Horizontal asymptotes are found by comparing the degree. And so when I compare the degree here, the degree on the top is this unwritten 1. The degree in the denominator is 2. So the denominator's degree is larger. So I look that up in my notes, and my notes are going to tell me what to do. So if the degree of the numerator is less than, that's where we are, because our denominator was greater than, numerator was less than, then there is one asymptote at y equals 0. So I go back here, and my limiting value, or my horizontal asymptote, and I'm not going to spell that all out, but horizontal, is y equals 0. And I get that because both the left of the graph and the right of the graph, the function itself is getting close to 0, which is the same value. And that's when we have that asymptote, when the left and the right does the same thing. Even though it crossed over that line in the middle, the left and the right do the same thing. That's a horizontal asymptote. So that is the graph, and those are the asymptotes for the f of x function on this slide.